So my mum was 60. Her name was Diana, and she sadly died last year, the morning after my wedding, so a little bit unusual. We were made aware almost immediately by my mum's husband that the two of them had purchased a funeral plan, and that there was not going to be a funeral. It was going to be a direct cremation. That's what they'd both done. They'd made a mirrored will, they'd bought this plan together, and that was that. That's what she wanted. I think my mum's main reason was myself and my younger brother, we'd lost our dad a few years before.
So sorry.
And that was very sudden, and I think she saw us go through that grief journey and the midst of organising a funeral and all the emotions and everything that it brings when you lose a parent, especially when you're quite young. And I think for her, she thought, oh gosh, I don't want them to have to do that again. I also think in her mind, she thought it was just the easier, cheaper option, so that when that time comes, we don't have to worry about it. It's been dealt with. There's nothing to organise, nothing to do. And I think in her mind, it was just, right, well, the kids won't have to worry about that. It's a major thing that they won't have to worry about when that time comes. I don't think she fully understood the process or the implications of what followed. As the weeks went by, because it was 6 weeks before my mum was cremated, which is a long time, it started to become you almost disassociate from it and go, okay, well, I know this has happened, but actually nothing's come from it now. So it was more like mum had just disappeared by then, and you just have no idea when it's happening. So although you kind of benefit from not having a funeral to plan, the other side is you don't go through the grief process in a normal, natural way, I would say, having been through it before, in similar but different circumstances. You don't go through the same process that you would naturally go through. My mum was almost estranged from quite a lot of her side of the family, but what happened is naturally I contacted them all, and my mum had got a brother who's still alive, and I said, look, I need to let you know that mum's died. And so the first thing is, okay, well, when's the funeral? Well, there isn't one, which he said to me, through all our fallouts and arguments, I would have gone and said goodbye. So it's taken that away from my mum's side of the family as well. My younger brother went to go and collect the ashes. I know the lady at the funeral home, she was very good with my brother. She was very understanding, but it's just, 1 minute mum's there and the next minute you're walking into a funeral director's and you're coming out with ashes. And I think when you've had nothing in between, it's a process that you have kind of skipped. I've always explained to people that I feel that it's almost just been put in a box, and that box doesn't open, because I've not gone through the process. Not entirely sure why, but I've never gone through the process. Now, some may argue, well, it was sudden and traumatic circumstances, so maybe that's why you haven't processed it. But my father's death was also sudden and quite traumatic in some ways. But I have been through that process. So I would go, well, the only difference here is I've had a funeral with my dad, and I've had goodbyes, and I've had closure, and I went to go and say goodbye to my dad in what I would say a normal way. I've not had that with my mum. But she never elaborated. She didn't ever turn around and say, I've chosen a direct cremation. I think if she had, and myself and my brother had been able to have a conversation with her and say, actually, we get why you maybe would choose that, but actually this is what we would want to do, and this is what we think is best, not just for us, but for friends and family as well. Like I'd mentioned to you prior to this, I had this conversation with my mother-in-law the other day, who is kind of adamant that she wants a direct cremation. And I said to her, you need to understand the process of a direct cremation and understand that your children and your loved ones won't know when this is happening potentially until the day before, or on the day. They may not know where it's happening. It could take days, it could take weeks, and it's very impersonal. And actually forget the cost side of things, because that's irrelevant. And if it's the cost that's bothering you, just look at a really, really simple, basic funeral plan. Speak to the kids and speak to your partner and look at all the options, and not just your own wishes, but also what they would like and what would be better for them. Because at the end of the day, it's not you that deals with it when that time comes. It's the people that you leave behind.